This is about the Sri Lanka Global Forum, which was formed after the Global Tamil Forum had been formed much earlier by the Sri Lankan Tamil diaspora who had been chased out from Sri Lanka after 1948 in a very subtle way by the all Sri Lankan governments. So here, the Sri Lanka Global Forum abroad for the Sri Lankan community, which means they identify themselves distinctively from the Sri Lankan Tamil diaspora. So there are two communities now. That's one thing. Now here, the problem is that the Sri Lanka Global Forum cannot, ask for repeal. They can only request the Canadian Ontario Legislative Assembly to reconsider this law. You cannot say go and repeal this, because repealing is up to the legislatures or the members of the Canadian Ontario Legislative Assembly. Nobody can say, okay, you do this. It's up to them to discuss it. We can only make a request and say, please reconsider this. So this is wrong. What the Sri Lanka Global Forum has requested in the international media, which is reported today. So on the other hand, we can see in Sri Lanka, now this all factors have been involved here, and especially the more recently, the ISIS, the Islamic State, which is a proxy as a result of the US Defense Department's dealings with the elements in the Muslim global community who were willing to take up arms according to their beliefs of a jihad war, which had been misled, had been conspired by the US Defense Department. As a result, internationally, the ISIS emerged after Al Qaeda had gone against the US, the creators of the Al Qaeda itself. So now, ISIS has entered Sri Lanka also. Now, this is a major issue because the ISIS or the Islamic State involvements here would be different, because they don't just kill randomly as they did in any other country here. Because they know Sri Lanka is more like a country that considers all religions together, with Islam, Christianity, Roman Catholicism, Anglican Christianity, Hinduism, Buddhism, and all religions except Judaism, which is not here. So one thing is that Judaism must also come to Sri Lanka, and on the other hand, the ISIS or Islamic State must also, now we have to give access to them, because they were fighting for their own belief of a Islamic State in Syria, and they got they have ruined so many young people from United Kingdom and Europe and America, even Sri Lankan educated Muslims. Sri Lankan Muslims have joined ISIS and giving up their luxurious lives. So this is bad. So now since ISIS has come to Sri Lanka, or rather Islamic State is here, what Sri Lanka must do is give them access to Colombo Port City to have their own United States of Islamic State on one half of the Colombo Port City, and on the other half of the Colombo Port City, United States of Tamil Eelam. So that, as the Sri Lankan Tamil diaspora had always appealed, the brotherhood between the Tamils and the Muslims within a Sri Lankan context can be established in the port city. That is the only way to sort out this problem. Otherwise, now this LTT is not here, but the ISIS would continue it now here. So because of that, I think the Sri Lankan Parliament must ensure justice, freedom, and democracy by expelling the Colombo Port City from the state of Sri Lanka, because Colombo Port City is a violation of the unitary nature of the Constitution of 1978 of Sri Lanka itself. Because now in international law and Sri Lankan law of the Sri Lanka's own law, unitary means historically one land. So once you join, amalgamate, like an island like Colombo Port City, the concept of unitary, the legal concept or legal principle of unitary in the Constitution is challenged. This had not been verified by the Sri Lanka Supreme Court as well. So it shows the Sri Lanka Supreme Court had given up its role. So here, once Sri Lanka has automatically, naturally, as a consequence of what our governments have done all together since independence, now naturally Sri Lanka has become a federal state, because even though legally it's not there, the state federal, we continue to say Sri Lanka as a unitary country. But even though the 13th Amendment says Sri Lanka must devolve the police powers and the land powers to Northeast, it's only a imagination. No, it's a fictitious constitution there. So accordingly, Sri Lanka has become a united, like a federal state, because once you amalgamate like adjoining island on a sea, according to international sea conventions by the United Nations, which Sri Lanka has verified, ratified, artificial island is not considered a port, even though it is within the coastal area of Sri Lanka within 200 kilometers, because it is on the sea. And historically, Sri Lankan land is geographically defined as the teardrop, which we can see on the map. And amalgamating islands like this is a violation of the unitary status. So accordingly, Sri Lanka must go for a constitutional amendment and then expel, like the Federation of Malaysia expel Singapore from Federation of Malaysia, expel Colombo Port City, and then make sure the United Nations Security Council pass a resolution to create United States of Islamic State and United State of Tamil Eelam on the Colombo Port City by dividing it half. And the same rules that I have suggested for United State of Tamil Eelam must apply to the United State of Islamic State. So let the Sri Lankan Tamils in Kattankudi, Kalmune, Badiklo, accordingly, they remain as, Sri Lanka remains as a unitary country without any devolution of power or federalism, because that is not feasible since there is a separatist movement, and that movement will end once these two countries had been created on the Port City, because it is the General Shavendra Silva who made a mistake by time to time, saying, okay, we are imposing burials, now cremations, burials, like that. And finally, the United Nations Human Rights Commission included the Muslim burial issue, or cremation issue in the UNHRC resolution against Sri Lanka. So we have to now allow, because of our commitment to the Islam religion, and also all religions, like the Roman Catholic religion, as according to the preachings by the Jesus Christ, and also according to the Holy Script of the Holy Bible, according to the Holy Bible as reflected falsely on the Anglican Christian Church today, and also the Hindu religion as it exists in Kataragama, without the Judaism, which I think must come to Sri Lanka immediately. So accordingly, because of that, I think we have a duty to make sure that United States of Islamic State and the United States of Tamil Eelam is created on the Colombo Port City, and that would end the problem permanently.